Hello all, welcome to another video talking geeky stuff and another video of a film review, Netflix Carter, my thoughts and review. But before we start, I'd like to warn everyone, spoiler alert, so you all have been warned. 3, 2, 1, here we go. So anyone who watches my videos, I know there's not many of course, you'll know that I like to talk when the trailer's playing. So I'm going to play the trailer while I talk. So this is another Netflix movie, Korean movie. If anybody watched my video before, I've done a few videos about Korean movies, and I talked about how in the last 10-15 years or so, they have become, in my opinion, the best Asian country to make films, TV shows as well, movies, pop music, of course, with BTS conquering the world. So technology, cars. So Korea, especially South Korea, of course, has definitely upped themselves. So with every new Korean movie or TV show, I always have I'm always anticipating it, looking forward to watching it, because plenty of them. I mean, there's not many, but most of the times I'm actually pretty, satisfied with the results. And after watching the trailer for this, I thought, oh, looking forward to this. I like a lot of the Korean movies recently, and yeah, so I watched this just now, last couple hours ago, so it's still fresh in my mind because I've been pretty busy with a lot of movies. I got a bit of time off, a week off, so I've been binging myself with a lot of movies and so on. That's why you notice I've had a lot of videos out in the last few days. Anyway, finally got to watch it. This is, I just say, a pretty long film. It's actually 136 minutes, so a little over 2 hours. Because not many Asian films get past the 2 hour mark, mainly. I mean, you get a few, but they stick around 110, maybe 2 hours max. And the actor, quite like him. Let's see if I can pronounce his name. Anybody knows? I am terrible at pronouncing names. Jo Won. Hopefully I pronounced it right. He plays Carter Lee. Let's start off by a bit of the play-by-play, and I kind of tell you how I feel about the film as I go along. It starts off that he wakes up. No, tell a lie. It starts off with loads of news reports. This film is like kind of like another take on a zombie virus. Not necessarily zombies, but this virus called DMZ or something like that. It makes people rage out, just like the 28 days. But the difference is these people who are infected still seem to have some sort of conscience, because they can use guns and even talk. And you can tell by symptoms is it happens like 10 minutes, the hair starts to fall out and they all become bored and they get the rage and they start killing each other or killing everyone in sight, even themselves. I like the twist of that, where most of these kind of zombie or these viruses that make you go crazy, they just target the normal humans, but this one they target each other, they're fighting each other as well. It's a pretty good take on it. And it starts off this Carter on the bed. No, it's actually started with a bus of Westerners driving, and suddenly they put their glasses on, and the glasses have like a sort of camera, and they're like some sort of agency hunting or trying to apprehend someone. He goes into the room, and you see the room full of blood, and you see Carter laying face down, with a cross on the back of his head or back of his neck area. And then the agency busts in and, are you Carter, etc. And Carter can't remember anything. Kind of reminds me of the Arnold Schwarzenegger's Total Recall, a little bit of character where he doesn't remember anything. And then he opens up, you see him tattooed, and he's actually wearing like a thong, like those. When you go to the Japanese or Korean bars where they wear those, I don't know what they call it. I call it thong for now. And there's blood all over his bed and on the floor, and so on. Then what follows is a action scene. There's a bit where he jumps off the cross. He's got a little mic in his head telling him what to do, and it started speaking English first, and then this quickly goes into Korean. So the voice in the ear tells him to jump off to the bath, and what follows is at first I don't mind it. At first I was okay, pretty good. The camera angle, camera zooms in and zooms back, quite kinetic and chaotic at the same time, and it's also a bit of shaky cam. So I can describe the camera like if you ever use Google Maps or Google Street Images, when you click on the live images and you click on direction and it zooms in, and then that kind of fast-paced zoom, and it feels like that. It looks a bit like that. Never been a big fan of shaky cams. I don't mind a little scene here and there, but the whole film was kind of like that. Which leads me to, you've probably all been waiting, what do I think of it? So, the first fight scene I felt was pretty well done. They're all kind of half naked. Oh, one more thing as well. This is actually quite bold for an Asian film. Because anybody who's Asian who know what I mean is, we grew up in a family where our parents would, they let us watch, violent films, monster horror films, blood films. They don't really care. But as long as there's no sex or nudity in the film, they will let us do it. So I had pretty good parents. So I watched all these kind of rated 18 and R certificate films, swear words and violence. They didn't care. As long as you got no sex and no nudity, they're okay with it. And that's why this whole bath scene, where you see a lot of the female and male genitals, I was like, wow, this is actually pretty bold. You don't really see that in Asian films. And this whole scene kind of some of the combat reminds me of that Korean film, which definitely recommend you guys, everyone who's watching this, to watch, is A Man from Nowhere. Check that out. And that was pretty good. I thought, okay, it started good, and then it became pretty kinetic after, very, very fast-paced cut. In some way, it reminds me of Hardcore Henry, if you remember that film. That was filming first-person view, and that kind of gave me the headaches. Kind of film like that also has a bit of a Paul Greengrass from the Bourne Identity, the Bourne movie, Jason Bourne movie, where they took the quick cuts and the jump shots like that. And then it carries on more and more action. So the whole point is the story gets convoluted a lot, but because you have the Americans, the CIA is about to do something. Then you have the North Koreans and the South Koreans supposedly working to find a cure, but they will try to topple each other. And then you've got a group of people trying to do a coup, military trying to coup and change the government. And he's assigned to find a little girl who has the cure, because her dad is a doctor or scientist who found a cure for the kid. So he's assigned to protect her and so on. And then I think the film was so fast-paced, and I actually was more focused on the action, trying to concentrate on the action, because it was moving so fast. It's almost like some of the aerial shots, using like a drone, kind of zoom in, zoom out, going around the street. Like for example, taking a long route around just to zoom back into the car cockpit or the driver's seat, and then go in behind the actors' first-person view and zooms out to the action. Trying to cut it into looks more like a one shot. And don't get me wrong, I think those are very artistic and cool. It was contained. I think they will work good in the 4-minute musical video, or maybe 20 seconds here and there, but throughout the whole film was like that. That's why I think I was trying to focus on the action sequences. I remember what Jackie Chan said in one of his interviews. He has 3 or 4 cameras lying around, from like head level to the body level to the ground level, stationed and not moving, so they capture all the action sequences because they're stationed to capture. And the whole point is, you don't need cameras that are so kinetic, moving around, and then suddenly zooms in and out in such a high pace, because the action's there to do that for you. Hand-to-hand combat, the shootouts, they're supposed to be the entertainment. But if you're, as an audience, trying to focus, because I was actually moving in my seat, trying to look at the angle to see the action. I was like, what am I doing this for? My head was getting dizzy, I was getting a bit of a headache, and so I had to pause a couple of times just to kind of wipe my eyes, just to clear my head a little bit. And that's why it took so much away from me to actually concentrate on the plot. Yes, anyway. The acting was so-so. I didn't think there was much opportunity for the actors to act because the film was so fast-paced in action. And if only they would just calm down with the camera, because I felt that some of the action scenes could have been so much better. Like I said earlier on, you don't need an action camera. The action does it for you. And because of that, you lose the storyline, the plot line. You don't even know what's happening, who's the good guys, who's the bad guys. You would think that if there's a worldwide pandemic, which we just kind of all of us just live through on this level, where people turn into some crazy, violent people, you think that the world government will kind of, at least work together, right, instead of trying to outdo each other or topple each other. And to be honest with you, I didn't really understand much of the plot, because the camera, the action just kind of got in the way. Many people knows that I love action. Action is one of my favorite genres in movies, but it has to be done well. I mean, I can appreciate what that is trying to do, but unfortunately it failed. I mean, it's just reminded me of a film recently I watched, a Michael Bay film, Ambulance. I thought that was a pretty decent film, but there's some short scenes, like I don't know why the camera angle is running up and down the buildings and sweeping around. Directors need to stop all that. They need to sit back and go, is this really needed? Because it takes away so much of the audience by watching what you intended them to see. You want them to see good action scenes, but you ruin it by having these crazy angles and crazy camera shots, which ruins your action direction. So, and it ruined me, because I'm a big action man. I love action films, and I couldn't appreciate some of the action. I can see what he's trying to do. I can see that it could be good, but I just couldn't appreciate it. Because of that, I actually got annoyed, because by the time, I'm not really going story by story. I'm just going into a bit of a rant about this film, because I felt this film could have been so much better if they would have toned down some of the action scenes, camera angles, and even shortened it down. Some of the action scenes kind of dragged on too much. You kind of got bored. The whole point of action scenes are like 2-3 minutes here, maybe a 5 minutes here, a little break, and this literally comes once. Anyway, and then let's go back to the film itself. So he saves the kid, and then you don't know whose side he's on. You find that he used to work for CIA. He had his plastic surgery, and he went to the north as an undercover. He met a girl there. He got married, had a kid. And the kid got infected. He has to save the other kid to bring it to North to get the vaccine, or make a vaccine anyway. So that's the whole point, really. And then I didn't understand the motive behind each government trying to outdo each other for bizarre reason, probably money or something like that. And then the ending, it just the bit where he's driving a motorbike near the end with his daughter on the back. On the front, he's like a little wrapped her around, and the little girl that he's the one who has a vaccine in her blood. He jumps off, he rides a motorcycle off the cliff, lands on top of a moving train. I mean, I'm like, really? It's a bit far-fetched. And the kids survived, all of them. Speaking about some of the actions as well, it took me out of it because of the CG wasn't the best. Which I don't mind. I don't really mind too much, because when I mentioned this as well previously, is when I watch an Asian film, when it comes down to like what is considered big budget in Asia, is probably somewhat average in America, in the West. Same as CG. What is considered say good in Asia is probably average in America again. So when I watch like film like that with some CG effects from an Asian film, I don't expect it to be amazing Hollywood standard because of the budget and the know-how. Because even as much as the Asian cinema has improved in storytelling, action's always been one of the best hand-to-hand combat guns always been top. When it comes down to big action set pieces and CG, Asia is still catching up. So I can accept the CG from an Asian film being okay, because you watch enough Hong Kong and Asian cinema, you know that we're still catching up to the West. So that I can live with. But at the same time, this film, I was really looking forward to. It looks great on the trailer. If I had to give it a score, I'd give it maybe 4.5, maybe 5. I give it a 5 out of 10. A 5 out of 10 at most, because I can see the potential. And as much as the camera, the movement was artistic and quite, it's trying something new, and I appreciate that with directors. But over 2 hours worth of it, it's not ideal. I think that hopefully the director can move on, because I think this director has a good eye for action. The only thing this director needs to improve on, maybe the storytelling, how to storytell within the action, and focus a bit more on the acting itself, because you can see they spent a lot of time on the action, kind of forgot a bit about the acting. So a 5 out of 10. I recommend people take a little break in the middle, because it can get dizzy, a bit nauseous as well, because I got a bit of a headache now when I'm talking. So a little bit disappointed, but hey, hopefully they can move on. So 5 out of 10. I'd like to say thank you for watching, and please do subscribe for more talking geeky stuff. Until next time, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening wherever you are in the world. And please stay safe. Goodbye.